Have you ever stopped to think about the fans behind a band? What is it about the music that keeps fans coming back for more? Or is there more? My name is Renee Lipsmeyer, and I am the host of this podcast, The Space Between Podcast, the podcast where we talk about the fans of the Dave Matthews Band. Each week, a fellow DMB fan joins the show to discuss their journey with the band. Welcome to the Space Between Podcast. Hey guys, welcome to another episode of the Space Between Podcast where we talk about the fans of one band. That band is Dave Matthews Band. And if you have never heard of them, I don't even know how you got to this podcast if you've never heard of Dave Matthews Band. They are celebrating this year 35 years of making music, and we as fans could not be more excited to be celebrating 35 years, to be celebrating the past. And that is what this podcast is about, is celebrating the fan point of view behind Dave Matthews Band. Each episode is a different fan of DMB that comes on the show and tells us their journey. How did they find the music? Why are they still listening to them? And, all the stories that accompany with that. So whether you have found the band 5 minutes ago or 35 years ago, everyone has a different journey. And so every episode is completely different. Now, if you're listening to this, we are in the middle of DMTB week. We've heard so many stories in the days before this. And if this is your first episode to listen to, you've got a couple of episodes that are already out that you need to catch up. Each day, we have a member of the DMTB team on the show to talk about not only their fanhood behind DMB, but what in the world elevated them to take their fanhood into a tribute band. And so today we have another part of DMTB on the show. I'm going to let him introduce himself. Tell us who you are, where in the world are you, and tell us something cool about you.
Well, my name is Johnny Adams. Been a fan of Dave since essentially day one, I would guess. Radio broadcasts and the college circuit. Got a chance to work with these guys a few years back via our engineer, Brandon. We happened to be working together at a different bar that I worked at. He was doing sound there, and I used to help him out. And one day we started just chit-chatting, and he mentioned Dave Matthews. I was like, oh, really? You like Dave, huh? And ever since then, I've been working for him for 5 years now. He introduced me to these guys about 3 years ago. And, they're a great bunch of guys. They're very easy to hit it off with. And just started doing little bits here and there with them. And, next thing I know, I've been stuck going around the country with them here and there. So
yes, but how much fun,
ride.
right? Yeah.
Yeah. It's fun, being behind the scenes. I've always been a big music fan. I've got a wide span of music. You can catch me any day going from Dave Matthews to Norwegian black metal and everything in between.
Yeah.
So I do a lot of shows. I do a lot of concert photography on the side. So I pretty much am show hopping most of the year.
A man of many talents.
Well, you got to have a little bit of everything, right?
You do. You got to have that.
I got the opportunity to work with these guys and, started working with David with his kit and just lugging that monstrosity in and out. In case you haven't noticed, there's a lot of drums there.
There's a lot of
drums. It takes a
drums.
little while to set up. It takes about 45 minutes to set that sucker up. It takes about 20 minutes to rip it down. I like ripping it down.
Yeah, it's faster.
It's a lot faster going out. Downside, actually, I had posted on a comment earlier today. Somebody was like, oh, I'd love to get in. I'm like, well, it's all fun and games until it's like a third floor load in and there's no elevator. And, all those drums have to go up and down by hand. You can't roll the boat up. You got to carry it forward. So there's a lot to it.
Yeah. I'm excited to talk to you about your journey. So let's take a step back in time and go. You said you've been listening from the beginning. So let's talk about the 90s. You heard Dave Matthews Band on the radio, like a lot of other people. Is that truly how you discovered them? Was just they were on the radio and you were like, who in the world is this?
Yeah. Through friends that were in college, they were like, oh, you heard this guy? Check this out. And, we would trade cassettes.
Yeah.
Cassettes back then.
Yes.
Yeah, it was right around the advent of the CD, I guess, but there was a lot of cassettes still in play there. We copied it off the radio.
I remember those days.
And then just through the years, I've listened to him and watched him grow, watched the band mature. Definitely still more of a fan of the '90s, which is definitely why I'm glad to be a part of these guys, because they play it true to ear and they do them right. So, but don't get me wrong, I do like the later Dave, but the earlier stuff is by far my favorite.
I'm jealous of everyone that got to be part of DMB in the 90s. I was 11 and you were young too.
Old enough, I just wasn't fortunate enough to be able to start doing the concert circuit with them.
Oh,
I didn't start really following them around until actually the 2000s. I would say
which was a great
between,
decade.
let's call it like 2001 until 2008, I probably caught him 50 or 60 times.
Holy crap. Yeah, you got a few in the
Yeah. Well, I was fortunate enough to work for a company that actually had naming rights on a couple of the venues around here, so
awesome.
tickets were easy for me to
Hey,
get.
it always
So I
helps
would
when
do
you
a
know
3-day
somebody.
weekend here, a 3-day weekend there every year. Caught him down in Tampa. I've caught him in Colorado, here and there in the Onda. So it's always worth the time. I always tell everybody, if you get a chance to go, go. Even if it's not your gig, you're still gonna have a great time. It's just the music makes you have a good time. There's no way
I
you can't.
agree. I agree. What has been your favorite venue to visit in your travels? Or can you even
Oh,
name
overall,
that? Red
Red
Rock. Oh,
Rocks by far my favorite.
yeah.
I mean, there were a lot of great ones out there. I mean, the Gorge is on my list still. That's been on the bucket list for years, and I'm envious of those that have gone because I hear the stories, and I'm just like, one of these days, one of these days.
There's not a bad venue for DMB to play at, right? Because
Yeah,
it's all about the
no.
music. It's not about the venue. The venue is great if it's great, right? But if it's crappy, the music is still really good. So, well, tell us, how did this all transfer? You've said that you were friends with Brandon, and then like how did that evolve into you actually being a part of the DMTB team?
Well, like I said, I mean, I met Brandon years ago. I used to work at a bar doing door work and pretty much everything in the building work, and he was doing some production for a couple of local bands, just very low key local bands. And I just got to know him through that. And then we happened to, in passing, chit chatting. He mentioned he likes Dave. I'm like, oh really? So we really got kind of talking about that, and I ended up coming to work for him as a part time basis doing sound events with him, the production company. I met DMTB through him because he was actually doing their production work for them, and got to know the guys, and just through the years of being on stage with them and chit chatting and getting to know them all, they kind of asked me to, hey, Johnny can come with you, bring Johnny with you, because he's a great helping hand. I actually went out earlier in the year, back in March, on the Colorado and Texas tour. I spent 2 weeks with him on the road and really got to know him.
Yeah.
2 weeks in a van with 5 guys, you get to know each other pretty dang well.
Yes, I'm sure.
Not a bad egg in the bunch. They're all great guys. And
Hmm.
just from there, it's every opportunity I have to work with them, I make sure I'm available. So I do
Yeah.
have a normal job, but this is a nice escape for me because it's part of the music scene which I like being in, working with guys that I really enjoy and respect, and playing music that I've loved a good portion of my life now. Actually,
Yeah.
35 years, so that's a heavy portion of my life.
It's most of our
Almost
lives,
half.
which is wild. It's wild to think about that.
Yeah.
It's hard to even remember a time where DMB wasn't in our lives at this point, right? Because they've just been around for everything, for before, the 90s was before we were, any of us were really doing anything at our age, and we were just young, and they've just held
Hmm.
on, thank God, for all these years and have brought us through all the things we've been through until now. And so, I always say, and a lot of people say this as well, that DMB is the soundtrack of our life. It's always been there.
Oh,
And I
100%.
find that so true.
Percent. It's suitable for every aspect. I mean, if you're feeling down, it'll bring you up. If you want to party, it'll get you partying. It just every aspect you can think of in life, you can use Dave to either fix it or enhance it.
That's right. That's right.
No
He
wonder drunk.
is. Yeah, it is. I mean, music is such a tool, and it really does work with our body. I mean, we've talked about that many times in this show, like how it can change, chemically in your brain and make you feel feelings that maybe you haven't felt in a while, or help you get out of some feelings that you found
Yeah,
yourself in.
it embeds in memories, or memories embed so well with music. At least for me, they do. I can
Mhm.
hear a song I haven't heard in years and bring back something I hadn't thought of in eons.
Right,
And if you're in a good place, it makes it a better place. If you're in a bad place, it brings you to a good place.
right,
Yeah, it's an awesome little tool. It's an awesome little tool. It's
right.
a gift that we were given to be able to enjoy music and incorporate it into ourselves in such a way.
Yes, I agree 100%. So let's talk about DMTB because that's what week we're in. Every day this week, we've had a member of the team on just because, I think that there are still a lot of fans out there that may be a little bit skeptical about a tribute band when the band itself is still playing. What would you tell someone? And I've asked every guy this, what would you tell someone that said, I don't understand why there's a tribute band when DMB is still playing?
I mean, we all know Ticketmaster, Live Nation these days, they get you over the barrel to go to a show.
Yes,
And I've seen several, Dave Matthews tributes, covers, and none of them do it like these guys do. I mean, these guys really do. They pick the best of the best and they play it 100% as true as possible. They don't really throw a lot of their own salt into the mix. They might,
Mhm.
it might a little bit here and there, but they more or less like, we're going to play this from Cleveland 96 and they play Cleveland 96. They
Right,
don't veer off that track. They try to be a true tribute, which is the awesome part about it. But
right,
yeah, I mean, yeah, to answer that question, I mean, just the accessibility part, I think is the biggest part of it. Dave just doesn't play 200 shows a year anymore, and he doesn't play all over the country like he did. It's more concentrated in those money areas, the big money areas, because that's, unfortunately, that's
that's where you make that money.
the yoke large artists have to carry. They want to play the big venues. They're owned by the big players, and the big players have
Mhm.
a certain price tags. It's a necessary evil of the industry, one that we hope to change. But until it changes, at least DMTB gives people that same authenticity and vibe
Right.
for fraction of the cost.
Right. I always tell people that really missed the 90s for whatever reason, that never got to sit in an actual building and listen to DMB play because they sound so very different now compared to the 90s. We all sound very different than we did in the 90s, right? Because we've grown up, we've matured. But one thing that we will never get is the original sound of DMB, where we had
Yeah.
different players in the game and just that beginning sound. I always say that there are 4 decades of DMB, right? We've got our 90s, we've got our 2000s, our 2010s, and now our 2020s. And so each one has been so very completely different, all in good ways.
Yeah.
None to me better than the other, just different in like studying those decades. And so when we talk about the 90s, what I love about that is I tell people if you missed out like I did and we never got to be in a room with DMB in the 90s, yes, we have YouTube. Yes, we have recordings. Yes, we have all of that. But if you want to be in a live room and feel that, close your eyes and feel like you're in the 90s, go to a DMTV show because they are going to deliver every single time. I've just heard
100%.
so many people say, I can't believe this. Gary sounds very much like Dave did in the 90s. And then all the guys just really are masters of their instrument. And through this week, we found out that not only are they masters of the instrument that they play on stage, but a lot of them play other instruments. And so these guys are
Yeah.
hardcore professional musicians who have just done so much for the community of fans that really do miss out on that original sound.
Yeah, yeah. And one of the things I like to say too, and I actually I proved this a couple weeks back at one of the shows here locally that they played was, I met a gentleman at the crowd and we were just chit chatting. And he's like, "Oh, I've never seen these guys before. How do they sound?" I'm like, and I say this to everybody that's never heard of the DMTV is, you go to a show, you close your eyes, and you tell me you can tell a difference. And at the end of the show, he walked up to you like, dude, 100% spot on. You were correct. Like if I closed my eyes, I would have
Mhm.
thought I was at a Dave show.
Yeah,
Gary,
yeah,
yeah, Gary just has that sound. He has that nailed down. Like I don't know how he does it, but he truly projects Dave when he
he really
sings.
does.
Nuances and the little idiosyncrasies, the little pops and whoos and haws, and he has them all, and they all register properly. And
They
it goes
do.
along with all the instrumentalists as well. If you were blind, you wouldn't know. I don't think you would
True,
notice.
true. No,
Just
I don't
sound
think
wise, they
so.
are so accurate. Um,
Right.
and that's something I always tell people when they're first hearing about them, and they always come back to me and say, "Dude, you were right.
You'd be like, "I know. That's why I told you that."
Well, I told you that. Why lie to you?" But yeah, I mean, just the excitement and the happiness that that we see time after time, night after night. Nobody leaves like, oh man, that sucked. Like, oh, I wasted my $20. What the hell? No, it's never. It's always,
Never. Yes, that's what I'm seeing. The more people that know about DMTB, the more people that get hooked in. And like you said earlier, they're so accessible to us because they
oh yeah.
are a nationwide traveling band. So anywhere you live, you're probably going to find a venue close to you where they're playing. And they're
Mhm.
adding so many more to the future, as the band grows, as there are more people that follow them, naturally things happen where they're able to put on more shows and go to those places that maybe they hadn't been before. But I know that the band is super
Mhm.
pumped about all the traveling they have planned for 2026. Are you going to be included on some of those?
He's already sending me schedules and asking me for availabilities.
Yes, they
Why
need
should
you.
it? Because again, I have an actual job, so I have to make my money.
I get it. I
Luckily, my
totally get
job
it.
doesn't allow me to travel the country. I travel the country for work already, so I can work from anywhere
Perfect.
in the country in most instances. So it does work well with these guys. But
Yes.
yeah, I definitely you guys will see me out there. I'll be the one running around with the camera and hawking merch and running on and off the stage, bringing, moving, toting, lugging, the whole nine.
So I've seen a lot of your pictures, as have a lot of people that follow DMTB on any of the socials. Which, if you are not following DMTB on the socials, you must, because you'll be able to find their schedules, all that have been released. You can buy your
Mhm.
tickets to a show from there, and then also just kind of read about, why it is they're doing what they're doing. And they're so passionate about this music. And like you've said, each person in the band is just so pumped every time to be on stage. There's not a concert that you'll go to where they're standing up there and you think it looks like they would rather be anywhere. No, they love what they do, and that is so exciting.
Yep, exactly.
Yes. Well, I'm glad that they have you because, there was once upon a time where they were doing everything by themselves. There was no help from Brandon. There
Mhm.
was no Johnny, right? And so we're so glad to see such growth because they need the help.
So they come to this side of the country, they get a little bit more time to relax.
Yeah. Yes, which is great because living on the road, which is what they do a lot, and especially it looks like 2026 is going to be a big road year. They just, they
Hmm.
they need time to rest, and that's something that's really hard to build in when you're doing everything. And we know from the previous guys that have been on the show this week and even tomorrow, and David, who's kind of the lead, if you will, like he really kind of doesn't like any titles, but he call him the leader, right? Like if anything, he's kind of the leader that's putting all these little pieces together and all the things. Everybody helps. Everybody has a job and everybody's helping do all of these little things. But touring as a band is a big deal. It's hard to put together.
Oh
There are
yeah.
so many little pieces that people often forget about, like, hey, where are you gonna stay? Hey, how are you paying for that gas? Hey, how did you get into that venue? Like there's so many people that are
Oh,
helping them now, and it's such a wonderful thing to be able to see them grow because of the support that they have.
yeah. Yeah, it's not like they could just hop a flight and just fly to all these shows and the stuff is just magically there. They are
No,
loading it in and out of the trailer, towing the trailer behind the steed from town to town to town across the country, and a lot of miles, a lot of gas. That's why we push the merch. Need gas and
that's right.
Cheetos money.
That's right.
There is a merch tab. We have T-shirts.
Hell
We
yeah.
have stickers. We have all kinds of stuff. Coffee cups. Oh, I need a new coffee cup. That reminds me.
So, for those of
Yep.
you that are listening, if you have not, or if you had made it to a DMTB show, but you didn't quite make it to the merch table, then you can go to their website and order merch and it will be delivered right to your home. T-shirts, stickers, coffee mugs, all the things. And so help support these guys. I know that selling merch is a big part of, helping these guys out, helping them stay on the road. And they are so appreciative of every sale that they make. And so definitely check out the DMTB.com.
They're great souvenirs. And they're great souvenirs.
They are great. So you could buy them for yourself or someone else. Maybe you can
Mhm.
introduce them, and you can brag about it. Be like, I introduced my friend to DMTB. Please do that. We want you to spread the word. Share this
Like people
podcast
come
with
up to me and
someone.
go, "What's GMTV mean?" I tell them, and then they go and they
Yes.
listen.
And then they know, right? Yes, I wear my
Oh, they
DMTB shirts
know.
as often, but I need more. David, are you taking notes of this episode? So far, we need coffee mugs. Johnny, you need a coffee mug, t-shirt. Okay, we need all these things, right? And the cool thing about the t-shirts and the merch is they do a really good job of switching them out. So if you bought the shirt that Johnny has on, I have the purple one just like that. that's not all they have. They change out their merch very often to represent what the name of the tour is. And of course, the tour is always named
Mhm.
something based off a Dave song. So it's always fun to kind of figure out, well, where did that come from? I know
Mhm.
they just finished like the Gamblers and Robbers tour that was over Christmas and New Year's. And for the longest time,
Yeah.
and I hate to admit this because I hate to admit this, but it took me a second to figure that out. I was like, what the fuck is this? And then I was like,
But
oh
now
my
you
God, I feel
know.
so stupid. It's Christmas song. It
Yep.
snuck up and I was
Well,
like, oh my God, am I really a fan?
sometimes it's
But
just
that
so
was
much
very cool.
material. For anybody to be able to remember all of the material without like failing, I'd find that miraculous because just the library of songs, the catalog of songs is just so huge.
It is.
And then some of the songs are really long.
Yes, yes, and we
So
don't
there's a
hear
lot of
them as
lyrics out there.
often. We don't hear Christmas
No,
song
no.
very often. It's kind of a big deal when they do play it. I mean, do they play it? Yes, but like not as often as some would like. But that was the perfect song to, of
Well, I'm
course,
hoping to
base
hear it
that
this
tour
week.
on.
Definitely hoping to
So
hear it this week.
DMTB. Let's talk about that. So, we always have our song requests that us fans of DMB like want to hear, right? Like I am forever screaming Crazy Easy. Do I think that's ever going to happen? I'm never willing to count it out because I got Kit Kat Jam. So I can't discard anything. Like I'm like, okay, we're going to hear everything we want. We just have to be patient and keep following this band. However, it gets a little easier with DMTB because they do take requests. They want to know, what do you want to hear that you don't really get to hear? And they do it for you. So that's something really different for DMTB is they are playing for the people that love this music and they want to play the music that makes us happy. Now, of course, they're going to play the things that they like too, but they're so open to suggestions. And so you can send them a message
Yeah.
on their socials and say, hey, it's my birthday or whatever, and I want to hear two step or whatever the song is. And they will try to make that happen at that show. I've seen the messages back and
Oh
forth
yeah.
between the band, and they really do try to accommodate and happily too. They're so happy to accommodate their fans because they realize that it takes all of the fans of their work to make all this happen. And so we're excited that they do those small things that make such a big difference to so many people. I mean, I have seen people flip their wigs on some of the, what was it, cigarette lit the other, like that they played.
Hmm.
Like, what the hell? We didn't even know. Like, I bet
Yeah.
there's so many people that didn't even know that was a song. And then boom, DMTV comes out and makes people question, like, do I even really know this music?
You got to go back to the Wayback Machine and like, oh yes, I remember that now. That was in
Yes.
summer of '98. Holy crap, I haven't heard that since then.
Yes. I mean, there
I
are
actually, I
just
actually
so
threw
many
one of
songs.
those out there. I threw one of those out there to Gary a couple weeks ago. I sent him a message. I'm like, hey, gee, do you know this one? And I looked and I went to the almanac. It's only been played 7 times live. It was in 1 week in '97.
Wow.
Yeah,
Wow. And likely not to be heard again, right? Probably
yeah.
will never be heard again. Not
I,
from
I
Dave
never
Matthews
heard
Band.
it ever again. That's why I had to go back to the almanac and look. I'm like, now I think about it, I've never heard this played. Like,
Mhm.
I've got it on some early demo stuff that I had my hands on and stuff like that. But I was like, all right. February of '97, played for 1 week run of shows. They played it like once a night for the 1 week. That was it.
Wow. Don't you wonder, like, what was
Plus,
the inspiration to
plus they
play
didn't.
that every night that week? Like, so many questions that, they probably don't even remember. Like,
Oh yeah.
that'd be like asking me a question about 1997. My God, I couldn't tell you anything from 1997. I graduated high school that year and went to college, but like, that's pretty much all I remember, right? Like, that
It's a
was a long
literal
time
blur
ago.
to me.
It was. Well, Johnny, I can't thank you enough for just helping us to really show everybody what the team looks like for DMTB and why I'm such a big fan of Dave Matthews Tribute Band. I think a lot of people are excited. A lot of people are still very confused, but that's what this week is about, is to show everyone, hey, they're not trying to be Dave Matthews Band. They're not trying to substitute a DMB concert for a DMTB concert. It's not about that at all. It's all
Yeah.
about paying tribute to the early sounds of the 90s. And that is what DMTB does. And so,
Yeah.
if I want to yell that from the mountaintops because I think that is such a hiccup for so many people to get over, is like, what is going on here? Well, that's exactly what's going on. So I'm so excited that you have joined the crew. I'm excited to be working with you. Of course, I'm I'm a big fan that also has the luxury of getting to travel with DMTB and do my part as the podcast, kind of hyping you guys up, getting people
Mm,
to make sure they know who you guys are. And so I look forward to 2026 and all the times that we will get to work together.
me too. Me
Yes.
too.
So, guys, if you are just listening to this episode and you haven't listened to any more this week, you've got several before Johnny that have come forward from DMTB. And then we have one more tomorrow, and that's David Sirianni, who is the drummer for DMTB. So I always want to say rewind, but rewind is a word from the 90s. I don't know why I keep using it. It's in my head. I'm like an old VHS player. I'm like rewind and fast forward. Like it's just stuck in there. But
Yep.
you can go back to those episodes on any podcast app. Of course, you can watch those as well on YouTube, just simply under the space between podcasts. So I invite you guys to go back, check those out. Stay tuned for tomorrow's episode with David Sirianni, and that way you really get a whole picture of what DMTB is. And I invite you, if nothing else, follow them on the socials so you can get to know these guys and see what they're doing. And also, they're going to surprise you a couple of times on social media with songs like Cigarette Lit. Like, you're going to be like, what is happening? And these guys may teach you something if you're a new fan about Dave Matthews Band music. So, Johnny, I can't thank you enough for being on the show today. Guys, until the next time, be sure to follow me on all of the socials on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. Follow me if you're interested in being on the show and sharing your Dave Matthews Band fan journey. It's as simple as just emailing me. And the email is super easy, so you don't even have to write it down. It's just Renee. You got to remember my name, Renee at the space between podcast DMB.com. Guys, it's peace, love, and Dave Matthews.